Hello, everybody. This is the Pixel event. I think we've just lost Ayaz there for just a second, but hopefully he'll be able to jump back in. This is CNET's live coverage of the Google Pixel 5 event. We are expecting a couple of things today that are not so secret. There have been a lot of leaks, a lot of rumors, and even some cases, the products have been on sale right now before the official announcement. Do we have you back, Ayaz?
I hope so. I don't know where we are in this conversation, but I think I'm here. Am I here?
I can hear you loud and clear. I was just saying
Gotcha.
that we have heard pretty much everything that has been expected today, and that some of the products are even available on sale. And I was just about to throw to David to tell us a little bit more, but why don't you take it away?
Sure. I mean, I'm not sure what happened before because, maybe Google knew that we were going to talk about them and then they froze my freaking connection, but I don't know that for sure. But like I said, we're going to do our pre-show. You're watching that now. We're going to cut to the Google event when that happens at 1. We'll be back with a post-show. Tweet us with the hashtag CNET Live or put your comments in the YouTube thing. I'll try to keep an eye on that. I'm joined by Alexis Avides, who was gracefully covering for me, and our guest, David Katzmeyer, who we know him as the king and lord of all things TV and streaming. So, David, can you tell us about this well-guarded secret known as the new Chromecast?
No, I can't. I've been sworn to secrecy. But I can read the internet. And according to people there, this thing actually has been on sale, at places like Home Depot already, despite the fact that it hasn't been announced yet. So, this is evidently, according to these rumors and reports, a brand new Chromecast for $50 that, unlike the previous Chromecast, actually has a real menu on the screen and a remote control. So previous Chromecasts relied on your phone, your tablet, whatever, to cast to the television and stream that way. A little bit wonky, in my opinion. I like a remote control, so for me, that's a good development.
So this device is supposed to be, at least from everything that's shown up on Reddit, people have unboxed it. It's been on store shelves, apparently. People have bought it. They've shown off the UI. And the rumor, at least on the box, unless somebody's artfully done this, it says Chromecast with Google TV. Didn't we have a Google TV like a while ago?
Yeah. I'm remembering back to 2010. And there was a particular product that I reviewed, a Sony television that had Google TV built in. Back then, Google TV was super duper cutting edge. It had a Chrome browser built right into the television.
That's crazy.
And a QWERTY keyboard on the remote control. And as you can imagine, buggy as, all heck. But it ran Netflix. There was Netflix back then, and it had a couple other apps on it. So needless to say, it bombed, did badly in our reviews, was totally, hard to use, everything you'd expect. And they dropped it, I think, 2014 for Android TV, which is the current operating system that Google likes to put on television.
So what I want to know is what is going to happen with the Chromecast lineup now? Because from someone that doesn't follow Chromecast specifically all the time, like I've had the original Chromecast, I even love the Chromecast audio, and then it started to get a little bit more complicated and confusing. There was the Ultra, and there were so many to choose from. They were always at a reasonable price point, but now with this device with a remote, do you think this means that all the other Chromecasts that we've had, including the Ultra, are now going to say bye-bye? Because I'm like you, I like the remote.
Yeah, I think that maybe Google might be throwing in the towel on the whole, let's make people use their phones and no remotes. We'll see. I'm guessing the new device will work fine with casting, if you like using your phone still to power the television. But the addition of a remote, potentially does a couple things. You can talk into it to get a Google Assistant, which is, a huge feature of the current Android TV for searching, doing weather reports, ordering pizza. It even works with Nest cameras to get a little picture-in-picture view if you have that installed. So, that's really a really good improvement. And if the price is $50, that's directly competitive with some of the best streamers out there, a Roku Streaming Stick Plus and Amazon Fire TV 4K. So they're hitting all the right, notes with this product.
Hey, Katz, you said earlier that you had ended up in the brick and mortar world. You went outside and you may have seen something in Home Depot. Now, I know other people have bought the Chromecast with Google TV in Home Depot. What did the Home Depot look like where you are?
So this morning, after dropping the kids off at school, I thought to myself, all these other people on the internet are getting early access to this product. Maybe I'll go down to my local Home Depot and check it out. So I wandered in. Really, very few people there at like 8:30 in the morning, and went to the shelf. I only saw the old Chromecast, the $30 one. I walked up to the customer service rep, and they did their thing and told me that they only had that one. They didn't have any Ultras, Lexi, in stock. I guess people were
There you
sold out of that
go.
one.
That's it.
Maybe everybody's playing Stadia on it. I don't know. But
Sure they are.
Right. And the Home Depot near me was dry of the new Chromecast, so we'll have to wait till Google makes their announcement in a little bit.
So with the video, there's been videos of the new UI on this device, assuming again this is real and not some kind of, I mean, look, it's got to be real at this point. Google's just really bad at this. So it looks like the UI has changed a bit. The most popular Android TV box, as far as I know, because I'm super biased, is the NVIDIA Shield, and this looks a little different than the NVIDIA Shield. Katz, what do you make of this? What looks to be a redesign?
Yeah, so I looked at the videos too. I think what they're doing is trying to make it simpler. I mean, they've been doing this ever since, they've been iterating and iterating, trying to make it, as easy to use as possible. Like they've been adding, oh, you know what, guys, let's do this. I actually have a TV here set up. So I've been reviewing TVs in my basement as part of our stay-at-home COVID situation. So I have behind us this wonderful Google TV setup right here. As you can see, looks a little different. But this is Android TV on a Sony television where it's built in right now. And they got, it is relatively simple. They have a lot of thumbnails. You do have your Google Assistant up at the top. You can say, show me comedies, and you get some search results eventually. And, it's a very slick system. So it looks to me like from these videos that it's an iterative improvement. Making it, maybe a little bit easier to use, but pretty much keeping the bones of Android TV as we know.
Let me ask you one last question about this. Do you think that Google would be silly enough to keep Android TV parallel with Google TV? So Android TV and Google TV being two separate products, or do you think it's a new name, or do you think third option?
So you're asking about fragmentation.
Well, naming, I guess.
You might think that they would somehow have multiple devices out there, not all running the same newest version of their software. I can't imagine they would ever do that. No, we don't know. I think this being Google, yes, chances are there's going to be devices out there for a while that have both operating systems. Again, ideally, it'd be great if they could just flip a switch and turn everything into the new version, especially for people like I think you said you own an NVIDIA Shield, devices like that. People love these things, by the way. NVIDIA Shield is one of the most popular streamers out there. And, again, it's expensive, but it's for a certain set of people who really appreciate, it's a powerful device. So, it would be cool if all those NVIDIA Shield owners heard today that they were getting, the Google TV upgrade too. Maybe that'd be pretty cool.
So, Katz, we really appreciate your commentary. Now, please go enjoy your sandwich with disgusting pickle inside.
It was so good.
Pickles are great. Team Pickle.
Speaking of
Team Pickle.
Speaking of pickles, hey Lex, I hear this is a pixel event, not a pickle event. Can you give us a rundown on the rest of the stuff? And
Yeah,
yes, I'm sorry about the jokes, guys.
No, never apologize for the fantastic puns because I am self-anointed queen of puns. But as we were mentioning at the top of the show, yes, there's so many things that we are expecting today. Pretty much 4 products, we've talked about. Obviously, the Google TV, the new Chromecast. We're also expecting a Nest audio device, so a new speaker. I'm still very confused about the branding about the Google Home devices. It's, for someone that's been following it since the original Google Home and then through all the iterations, the Mini, the Max, and now all the Nest branding, it's a little bit confusing, but we do know a little bit about that. And that's probably what we're going to see as well today. But most importantly, I think, is the Pixel line of phones. So we know that there's going to be a Pixel 5 and a Pixel 4a 5G, which is not really any surprise. Like we've seen pretty much all of the details leak. So really what we're going to see today is the hardware announced, but I think the surprises were going to have to come in the software side of things and everything that's going to work behind the scenes to make a pixel, because as we know from previous devices, it's not necessarily all about the hardware, it's about the cool software tricks that's enabled on board. So I'm hoping for a few things to surprise us today that we haven't already heard about, because if you're following all of the rumor blogs, looking on Twitter, looking on Reddit, you know a lot of the phones, a lot of the specs that we're expecting today. So I'm personally excited about the Pixel 5. That's really the one that I'm kind of holding on to some great hope for, because I don't know about you guys, but the Pixel 4 was a disappointment, to say the least. I don't know, Katz, if you've used the Pixel 4 or if you're a Pixel phone guy, but it was, the Pixels are some of my favorite phones. And then the Pixel 4 has just been, it's gotten better over time, but it really just got off to such a shaky start. And, I think there's a lot to improve on. So hoping the rumors are true about what we see about the Pixel 5, it could be a return to form. What are you showing us there,
So
Katz?
still, like I'm a Galaxy Note guy, but I'm still rocking the Note 8. So
Old school, yes.
Exactly. So I'm in the market for a new phone, and if I've heard great things, especially about the camera, obviously with the Pixel. So if they can do it, I'm definitely all in on Android, but I'm going to have to be weighing it pretty heavily against the Samsung. So we'll see.
Kat, you're gonna have to tell us how the screens perform, by the way, on the 6, because I remember when you showed me the Note 8, I was looking at my Pixel 2 XL and almost weeping. So
yeah,
thanks
that's
for
my
that.
favorite thing about the Samsung phones, honestly, is the display, and that's kind of where I'm always looking first. And they always lead because they make everybody else's OLEDs too. They lead that. So if Google's in that same realm and has better software, something new, it's definitely a consideration.
All right, David, thank you so much for all your insight on today's event. I'm really looking forward to seeing what's going to happen in the Chromecast, what's going to happen with the new Pixel. And let's, Lexi, let's dive deep into this Pixel
Thanks a lot,
5.
guys. All right. See you
Thanks,
around.
David. Take care out there in the real world of
That's
Home
right.
Depot.
And enjoy the TVs.
Yes.
All the Android Google TVs.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
Back
to the
5.
Pixel 5. Okay, we've seen so much about it. We know a lot of the spec sheet. We're talking about things like the color options that we've seen. We've seen a green version and a black version with some sort of speckled finish on the back. We've heard talk about the processor, so Snapdragon 765G potentially, so not the latest iteration of the Snapdragon 865s and 855s that we've seen on a number of phones, which presumably is something that Google would be choosing in order to help bring the price down, because, as you've seen, the Note phones, for example, and many other phones that are using the 865 Plus are edging up there into at least the $900 plus amount. So this is hopefully a good sign that the Pixel line, or at least the Pixel 5, will be at a more reduced price point, which makes sense in this crazy year that we call 2020, because not everybody has the money to be spending on, a big phone like the Note 20 Ultra, for example, which was crazy priced when it came out, and something like the Z Fold 2, which is beautiful phone, but completely different ballgame. 6-inch display, OLED, of course, 8 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs of onboard storage, and also the return of the fingerprint sensor. Now, this is something that I'm personally very excited about, especially in the land of many people wearing masks and not being able to use things like face authentication, and especially on the Pixel 4, because it had that very odd Project Soli / face unlock / didn't work the way it was supposed to half the time. It was kind of a half-baked thought in many ways. I don't know what you think about the, Soli IAS. I know you have many, many thoughts, but for me, I'm very excited to see the return of the fingerprint reader.
There's so much to unpack here. No Samsung pun here, but the thing is, everything Lexi said, I believe almost everything there was based on all the reports. So if you guys are like, is this official yet?
No, that's reports, rumors.
It's almost official. Like we're pretty sure like this is true. And look, let's be honest, Google they've kind of given us like a tongue-in-cheek kind of, yeah, we know you see what we're doing. They don't seem to mind. It's not like the old Apple days where they would come after reports. It seems like a lot of these devices get out there, but all of that's still reported as rumor. One of the few things that Google has actually said officially, yes, it's called the Pixel 5, won't be the Pixel 20, and it'll have 5G. And as you were mentioning with this 6-inch display concept, again, this part's unofficial. that the rumors are saying there's only going to be one model, not an XL and a 6 for the first time, because I believe that the entirety of the Pixel line has always been a smaller model and a larger model. There were other reports saying that one of the devices, the one that's the 4A 5G, that one was supposed to be the original Pixel 5.
Mhm.
And then this other one, that's the super premium one, it's going to be called like the Pixel Ultra or something strange. So like there's a whole other set of messes going on with that. As for the return of the fingerprint sensor, if that's true, I'm a big fan of that. I liked, in theory, Project Soli. Now, if you guys don't remember this, not only did it do this awesome like Face ID like Apple has, where it throws this dot thing on your face and it can see you, but it also supported gesture controls. Now, I know that sounds a little bit silly, but thinking about the world now, not touching my device to like change music
Yes.
tracks and everything else really makes a lot of sense. And the promise of Soli in all of the videos we've seen about it was about like these really fine movements. And there's a video of me trying out Soli. And I tell you, when I tried out the Pixel 4 last year, it did not work right at all. I kept trying and trying, and apparently I moved the wrong way. And
You were
look,
just doing it wrong, Ayaz. That's the
yeah,
problem.
my biggest problem is, I don't function properly for what they call motion sense. It's uh, with all the reports, it looks like either they've miniaturized Soli so small that you can't see it because the front of the display has like a tiny camera, or they did ditch it for that fingerprint sensor. I mean, I miss iris scanning on my Note 8. That's super important now because like not full face, not even a gloved hand. You can just have your eyes. I think back to the whole price thing, the rumor is $700. What do you think of that? Because if it's $700, that is iPhone 11 territory.
Yeah, I think it's a smart move. And I think it's really the only move that Google potentially has up its sleeve with, just looking at those rumored specs that I was mentioning about earlier. The reason I think the Pixel line used to really be, when it was called Nexus, it was the phone for, real Android enthusiasts. And it was something that people got very, very excited about. And it was always at a very affordable price. It was, that $500 to $600 to $700 range. It was never $1,000 phone. The Pixel 4 was, an expensive device, and did get cheaper over time. But I think that this is a smart price for Google to bring the phone in at. And I hope it actually does end up being around that $600 to $700 mark, because that's the only way it can compete in many respects. The key with the Pixel line is, of course, getting the first to have a number of Android updates and those kind of cool exclusive Pixel things, such as, astrophotography mode on the camera, a lot of the camera developments early on that a lot of other manufacturers kind of look towards in terms of the computational stuff that Google does, which is really, really clever. And also some of the other things like the automatic dictation and voice to text things that you see instantaneously transcribe calls and things like that. And also like a lot of the call screening technology. So that's really what the software side that Google has to offer. That is something that you don't necessarily need the latest and greatest hardware to take advantage of, because they've been really good about bringing those updates to older Pixel devices. So $700 makes sense. And I think it's in that kind of, you're not looking towards, if you're choosing to spend $700 on a phone, you're not even looking at the high end Samsung Galaxies. You're not even looking at like the OnePlus 8 and so on and so forth. Actually, I talking about how smart the assistant is, it thought that I was talking to it just then. So maybe not so smart.
Maybe it was a reminder that the show's going to start in 10 minutes. So don't forget, guys, you can keep it right here. We're going to finish our pre-show and we're going to switch right to the live show at 2 o'clock Eastern. And it's going to be, well, either it's going to be what we expected or it'll be totally a surprise. So keep it right here. And as you were saying, Lexi, when it comes to the software, it really is a huge difference when it comes to these devices. And that's why something like the Pixel 4a seems to take great pictures. The 3a did the same thing. And of course, we're expecting the 4a 5G as well, which should take advantage of a lot of different things. This is supposed to be, not supposed to be, it's officially been announced by Google in August that it will cost $499 and have 5G. So we already know it's coming, and they've already announced the price. The only thing that seems to be a question is that it might be larger at a 6 Plus when it comes to the size of the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that if a device at $499 is competing with a $699 device within Google itself, what kind of trade-offs do you think there'll be between a 4A 5G, fun to say, and
Yeah,
a
I know.
Pixel 5?
Which is also 5G. This one is an interesting one because we might actually see the 4A almost cannibalize the 5 in some respects. And I think that is what the concern that I primarily have, because looking at the track record of the 3A and the 4A, they were iterative, but they were cheaper, and they often improved significantly over the sort of flagship device we're talking about, like the 3 and the 4. So I really think it's sort of like the S cycle that Apple used to do with the iPhone, often just small iterative improvements, not a huge design overhaul, but often it was like the one to be on that cycle. I personally have a big soft spot for the A phones of the Pixels, just because I think the price and the compromises that you have in terms of overall performance and stuff is totally worth it to get the same or very similar level of features. I've been using the 4A ever since it came out, and I've just been really impressed. Like, I have never gone, when I've been using the 4A, going, I wish I had that 2x telephoto lens on the Pixel 4 and Project Soli and gesture control. Like, I literally have never wanted that on the phone and never missed it when I was using the 4A. Performance wise, it has not as great of a chip, but that doesn't matter to me. And I really haven't noticed a significant difference when doing resource intensive applications. And if I ever have an issue, I can just restart the phone. So it's never been a big significant issue. I think a lot of the time we can get caught up in terms of talking about specs and we want the top of the line devices, but many people don't want that and don't need it at all. And so the price is a really interesting one. I'm just, again, like you say, I'm interested to see like how they're going to differentiate the two models. If it's just going to be a size thing, obviously if they're both going to be similar software features, why would you choose the more expensive phone? Unless you want, potentially what we've seen on the rumors is the ultra wide lens on the Pixel 5. So that's an interesting one, but maybe you don't need that. What do you think?
Some people are saying in the chat, like 4A is garbage, and I don't agree
4A,
with that.
no,
I
the
think
4A is really good. It's a good phone for the price.
The weirdest thing about the 4A is that its design looks more modern compared to the 4, because the 4 did pack in all those sensors on top to this massive forehead on the device. So it looked dated, even though it was brand new. And then you have the 4A with its hole punch camera. So I don't think it's a bad deal at $349. I think if you can get a good phone at $349, that's impressive. And as I mentioned in another video a long time ago, I think like a week ago, that don't forget that Google has Android Go, a version of Android meant for lower powered devices. I believe they're using all that technology and all the knowledge that they have to make Android work really well on a slower device. Make the Pixel 5 and Pixel 4a and all these other lower end hardware devices run the software really well, because the thing is, Google owns this from end to end, so they can tweak anything and they know everything. So like, it seems like it's when I say no, they know everything about their software and hardware. So I think they could really do something like Apple's been able to with this just iron fisted control. It doesn't matter that the iPhone always had less RAM than a lot of Android devices. It handled multitasking in a different way. It handled its processing differently. So it's a whole different thing. It's not just hardware anymore. There's so much more to unpack before we get there. Let's talk about the Nest Audio speaker.
Sure. Let's talk about a smart speaker that we've seen. Google again has confirmed that this is a real speaker. They've issued a photo of it. We obviously don't know any official specs, but there are a few things, I guess, on my wish list of what I want from this speaker, because everybody probably saw Amazon release a whole bunch of new devices last week, which was just like an avalanche of products, everything that you could think of, from flying drones through your house to a completely new design for the Echo smart speaker, which is now a sphere. Looks like the Nexus Q. Remember that device from way back? The very odd Nexus Q. Yep, that's bizarre. Anyway, history repeating itself. But there are a lot of new features in terms of the software side of what Amazon is doing that I would like to see Google kind of talk about in this presentation, because the hardware itself, what can they improve on? I mean, it looks like it's sort of this is potentially a replacement for the original Google Home. Remember that weird kind of like semi-spherical, like
the thing looks like an air freshener. I
yeah,
have
it looks like that's exactly what it is. It looks like an air freshener. So that's potentially a replacement for that device. And then is it going to be, it looks a little bit like the Google Max on its side when you have it oriented up like that. So what are we going to see in terms of how is Google going to position this device? I really want it to have better audio quality than the original Google Home. That would be nice. And some extra tricks to have, more seamless conversations and smarter integrations. That's really what I want to see from it. Because I don't know on the hardware side what else they could do to make it super exciting. I don't know. What do you think?
On the hardware side, what I would love for something like the Nest Audio, because that's what was on the boxes of the already photographed devices that were already out. I would love them to have like NFC pairing such that if I tap my phone against it, it knows to pair with it. Or if I have a stereo pair of speakers, just tap them together. These little things, because when you have to go into the Google Home app and you take two of the speakers and create a stereo pair, it's not horribly difficult, but it's also not intuitive to have a pairing mode where you can have multiple speakers. Maybe you're setting up stereo speakers for your TV, or maybe you're setting up a 5.1 system with Google's hardware. I would love for that to be a lot easier. So I think the audio quality on Google Home has been very good. Even on the Google Home Minis, I found them to be very good. The Nest Mini, I found the naming convention kind of a mess, but
me too,
because it joins the Nest Hub Max, the Google Home, the Google Home Mini, and then this might be called Nest Audio. So that's very different. So they're going to have to like clean this up at some point, because people need to know what works with what.
Right. It needs to be consolidated in the same way that I think that the Chromecast line is kind of naturally getting there. The Ultra and the cheaper end Chromecast are probably going away, and it's just going to be one single device. I mean, the interesting thing with the audio side of things is that you take a look at Amazon, I was just talking about, so many echoes. Like, how do you know which one to choose? Google is starting to have a similar problem. So I think that what could be really clever way to do it would just to have like one or two really smartly positioned devices. One that is for, the audio end of the spectrum, and the other, which is sort of the smaller device that can be integrated anywhere in your home, like the Mini, and potentially one with a screen. Do we need any more than that? I'm not sure. I'm not a
We
huge...
need a flying one. We clearly need a flying one. What are you thinking there?
I don't know. I don't want Alexa. I'm sorry if I've just triggered everyone's assistance.
Alexa show's about to start. Any last minute surprises you think are going to come? I'm going to say Pixel Watch, not happening.
Pixel Watch, definitely not happening. I hope that there's some sort of hint about what we're going to see in terms of the photography side. I'm really into. So I really want to see some kick-ass photography features showcased, not astrophotography, something completely different. I don't know what it's going to be, but an improvement in video, something portrait mode in video, better audio quality from the phone. I want to see what that is, because to me, Pixel goes hand in hand with photography. So I want that to be a big emphasis, given the Pixel 4 was just a little bit of a misstep with that telephoto lens instead of an ultra wide. So we'll see.
I think they're on in about 10 seconds. So guys, we'll be back after Google's done with their thing. Tweet us with your thoughts with the hashtag CNET Live. I'll be keeping an eye on the chat, the Twitter things, all the stuff. Keep it here, and we'll be back with our post show. So let's find out if there's any surprises from Google, because there has to be, right?
Fingers crossed.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in today. 2020 has been an incredibly challenging year for so many reasons, and we hope you and your families are doing okay. Given what's going on today, Google's North Star of being helpful to people feels more important than ever. There are a lot of things weighing heavily on people's minds right now, and not everyone has access to some of the usual outlets that bring us comfort and relief. Things like connecting with family and friends, traveling, or even simply going to the movies has been challenging. So today, we want to bring a few of the things we've been working on across Google that we hope will bring a little joy, entertainment, and connection into people's lives. Today, you'll hear from our team about how our devices and services play a unique role in the delivery of Google's helpfulness. Shalini and Isabel will tell you how the new Google TV and Chromecast will change the way people search for and organize content on their TVs. Mark, with the help of special guest Mark Ronson, will explain how we've designed our new smart speaker to fill your entire home with music on demand from streaming services like YouTube for a fraction of what the whole home audio systems would normally cost. And Maya, Shanaz, and Sonia will share how we're putting the G in 5G on our 2 new Pixel phones built on Android. They're not just faster, but more helpful and affordable so that more people can experience this next chapter of mobile technology. These latest products and services bring together the best of Google's AI, software, and hardware to create helpful experiences built around you, your needs, and your wants. And where all you need to do is say, "Hey Google," or tap a button to get help in the moment. So grab a snack, get comfortable, and enjoy this first look at our new lineup of helpful products. Play Launch Night In.
That's right! That's what I'm talking
For many families, TV is the heart of entertainment in the home. I remember growing up in India. I always looked forward to Sunday evening when my family would come together to watch TV. It was usually a Bollywood movie. There was only one channel. It was called Doordarshan, and literally the only thing that was on at that time. Now there is so much content to choose from, whether it's movies, shows, live TV, YouTube, and it's across hundreds of content providers. It can actually take longer to choose something to watch than to watch the content itself. Building on everything we've learned from Android TV, today, I am really excited to introduce Google TV. Google makes it so easy for anyone to enter something they're looking for and find results right away. That's the same experience we want to recreate on Google TV. A whole new approach whose aim is to deliver an entertaining and personal experience with recommendations and a discovery paradigm made just for you. For example, I'm a huge fan of dramas. I would usually look within all my different apps to figure out what should I watch. But with Google TV, I'll see a row of tailored recommendations from across all my favorite streaming subscriptions, all in one place, making it way faster to find something to watch. How many times has it happened to you that someone tells you about a great movie to watch or a great show to watch, and you're on the street and you want to remember the name, but you've forgotten it by the time you've gotten home? Happens to me all the time. Another great feature that we brought to Google TV is a watch list, which gives you one easy place to bookmark movies and shows that you want to save for later. You can even add to your watch list from your phone or your laptop, and it'll be waiting for you on your TV when you get home. With YouTube TV fully integrated, you need never miss live events. You can record from your phone, as well as get unlimited DVR functionality. You can also play music from your favorite services, and in ambient mode, turn your TV into your large digital photo frame, showing all the favorite pictures you've taken. It even works with your Nest cameras and doorbells. We will be bringing the Google TV experience to many more streaming devices in the Android TV ecosystem. Today, Google TV is making its debut on the all-new Chromecast.
To me, the incredible part about Chromecast that we were able to make old TVs new TVs. So something that was antiquated all of a sudden became smart. Millions of people around the world use it every day to cast their favorite movies, shows, and music. The new Chromecast with Google TV builds on everything that people love about Chromecast, and it's the perfect complement to Google TV. And the biggest news here is the addition of a remote to help you navigate with either your finger or your voice. So my favorite button is the Assistant button, and that's why we even made it a fun pop color. And with the Assistant button, it's so easy. You just press it and you ask it what you want, and it just magically shows up. Even when you say something like, play the Great British Baking Show on Netflix. Remotes can often feel bulky and boxy with too many buttons. And for me, anything you bring into your home should feel like it's a part of your life and your personality, even remotes. The new Chromecast remote has a floating stance that invites you to pick it up, and it comes in 3 distinct colors that live naturally in their surroundings: snow, sky, and sunrise. We wanted to make the remote as delightful as a bowl of candy. We also have dedicated buttons for today's most popular streaming services like Netflix and YouTube to give you even quicker access to the content that you love.
There is so much wonderful content out there, and we want to help you find it easily. Think of Google TV as your personal entertainment content curator.
And the new Chromecast with Google TV is available today for just $49.99 in the US, and it's coming to more countries by the end of this year.
It's time for you to get cozy on the couch and let Google help you find what you're looking for.
Open YouTube TV.
Let's go. We got ABC, we got ACC, Adult Swim, Animal Planet, and AMC. You can watch BBC, America, World News, BET, and Bravo. Why you eating nachos? The chips are looking salty, man, you need a little cheddar. We got Big Ten Network, Cartoon Network, CBS, and Cheddar. We got CMT, CNBC, CNN, I'm giggling at Comedy Central, so hard I watch it again. Kinda Court and Cozy and Discovery and Disney. Watch a little E and get celebrity news. 4 different ESPN channels, Food Network to brush up on your recipes too. Fox and Freeform, FS1 and FS2. Oh yes, yes, not 1, not 2, but 3 channels by FX, Dolphin, HGTV, HLNID, and IFC, a local now and MLB Network, Motor, Tramper, Drive, Week, MSNBC, MTV, Nat Geo, and NBA News, NFL Network, Nickelodeon, Olympics, yeah, you know, and Oxygen, and Paramount, and PBS, and Papa CC Network, Smithsonian, Star TV, and Sundance Rock. Sci-Fi Case, TBS, Telemundo, and Tennis, the CW, TNT, and TLC, I ain't finished. Travel Channel, True TV, and Turner Classes, TV Land, the TYT, Universal, and Universal Kids. VH1 with TV, YouTube Originals, and a bunch of channels with original titles, we do it big. The Bachelorette, The Masked Singer, Triple D, The Daily Show, The Walking Dead, and Fargo, and Sports Center, away we go. Rick and Morty, 90 Day Fiancé, Friends, and Practical Jokers, my flow is flaming hot like you put my raps on a smoker. I watch Jersey Shore while I rip beats, RuPaul's Drag Race, maybe even Schitt's Creek, SpongeBob, Blackish, maybe even Yellowstone. Do I need a yell or can I tell you with a mellow tone? I could rap forever dropping names on this hard bass. YouTube TV gives you unlimited DVR space. Live sports, news shows, movies, what a mouthful. You can get a family plan with 6 accounts per household. There's also not a cable box in sight. Don't you want that? We're past cable, no hidden fees or long-term contracts.
There's also this awesome channel called NBC. Check it out. I'm hungry after all that. Let's see what's cooking in the kitchen.
Let's start that beauty montage.
Oh my goodness.
When's the last time you cooked?
I had no idea, but we killed it.
The more I travel and taste the different cuisines of the world,
Wow, muy dulces.
the more I realize that good cooking is universal.
That's the only reason I came here.
And you got your candies on your cookie?
What kind of record do you want to make? Back from the Beatles and Motown, they have a sound.
And it's such my childhood.
The 808 drum machine.
K-pop.
Analog and digital.
So many great songs.
Hey Google.
Personality.
Times a million.
All right.
Awesome.
That's already winning.
Hello, I'm Mark Spates, and I'm the product lead for smart speakers at Google. The original Google Home provided users with great sound. And for the first time, hands-free help from the Google Assistant. Well, we learned a lot since that journey. And one thing that was very clear is that people love music. Today, we're introducing a new product for our family, Meet Nest Audio. Our goal was to create the very best smart speaker for listening to music for only $99. What's really great with Nest Audio as well as Nest Mini is that they all work together seamlessly. One that can easily connect with other Nest speakers and displays, and it can be the center of your whole home audio system. We spoke to sound engineers, musicians, and audio specialists on our own team. They told us that there are 3 key things that you have to get right in an awesome smart speaker: more bass, more volume, and maintaining that natural, clear sound. Nest Audio delivers 50% more bass, 75% more volume than the original Google Home. We introduced a 19mm tweeter for consistent high-frequency coverage and clear vocals, and added a 75mm mid-woofer that really brings that bass. As a result, Nest Audio delivers fuller, clearer, and more natural sound. And this really starts to take the music listening experience to the next level. So you're probably wondering, how are we going to demonstrate sound quality virtually? We invited our friend, Mark Ronson, to give us his opinion.
How you doing?
I would love for you to test out Nest Audio on one of your favorite songs and see if it really brings it to life.
Well, I wouldn't mind hearing something that I make because I'm familiar with it, so I can really hear the speaker and enjoy it for what it is. Hey Google, play Valerie by Mark Ronson and Amy Winehouse.
All right, Valerie feat. Amy Winehouse, version revisited by Mark Ronson. Playing on YouTube.
You can't not smile and listen to that song.
So Mark, what do you think?
When you're listening on a good speaker, you can get the sense of the space. You know, the drums are a little bit to the left, the piano in the center. It has a very warm sound to it.
What's unique about sound is it's personal. It's very subjective. The way that I like to listen to one song in a verse is the way that you like to hear it.
I love to put my ear up next to the speaker because I've been doing that since I was 3 years old. Like this the whole time, planting myself down next to the speakers. Kind of just want to get lost in it. So I want to feel the sound, whether the speaker's this big. I just want to feel the sound. I came from an era where you had to have 2 speakers and a turntable going to it to listen to music. And if you wanted to listen to music in the kitchen, it meant that you had to turn it up really loud in the living room. And then, that doesn't go down so well with the neighbors.
We end up having a lot more dance parties at home. Either Little Baby or Bossa Nova is my dish music.
I like that combo. That's you're a bad boy.
It's the same thing. Either you're really chill, right? Or you need a little bit of energy. I love that not only are you an artist and you're passionate about music, but I think your creativity goes far beyond that. When you're in your process and you're creating, how does the actual artist play into the way that you produce the music for them?
You're just always trying to make everything tailor-made perfectly to that artist. So if you're in the studio, it doesn't matter if it's Amy Winehouse or Ghostface Killer or...
Every time you say Ghostface Killer, it makes me smile because I can just think so many great songs.
I'm just always looking for that great vocal or that performance that sort of makes you feel it here.
We wanted to make sure that we started to design it so that people really heard what the artist wanted them to hear.
It's important when they come out the speaker that they sound the way that I intended them.
The other thing that I would love to hear your thought on is the design.
I'm such a sucker for anything covered in fabric like this kind of simple and classic and elegant.
It's actually recycled material, and it uses the same type of sustainable covering that we use on our other speakers. Well, Mark, thanks so much for joining us. We would love to have you play one more song before you head out.
Hey Google, play Todd Rundgren, I Saw the Light.
All right, I Saw the Light by Todd Rundgren. Playing on YouTube Music.
Well, that was fun. As you heard, Nest Audio is a smart speaker designed for everyone who loves music. And it's available for $99. Let's check out how the Wilson family is using Nest Audio to create a whole home audio experience.
Hey Google, play some music on YouTube Music. Hey Google, move the music to the living room pair. Hey Google, move the music to the whole home group.
Deuce juice.
Hey LJ, what song do you want to play next on YouTube Music?
YouTube Music is the world of music dedicated to you guys with over 70 million songs. YouTube Music is showing people different options, but also music that we would never have heard. It was funny because the other day I was like, you know what, now let's do like a French song. And everyone's like, no. I'm trying to cover all my bases. I'm a Latin girl, and I think because my dad had so much of that connection, that's evolved as well into something crazy. The top songs in the world are in Spanish. I definitely like to listen to romantic music, Ella Fitzgerald and Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin. I Hope You Dance by Leanne Womack, and that's because of my Nana. Cooking is usually very calm, very Etta James. Then I'll be in a whole Bob Dylan phase and those classic 80s or 70s hits. I think we have some of the best lyricists in the game right now. Dua and Ariana, Taylor, Demi. These artists are just lifting up the game with these lyrics. It makes me so happy. It's just that one line that gets you in a song where you're like, woo! Wait, I gotta write that down. My best friend her boyfriend is in a band called Goodbye Honolulu. I love listening to what they listen to, the playlist they'll play, because it's gonna be one where I'm like, yeah, I think I'm gonna find some cool new stuff. Get personalized recommendations and explore to discover new songs and artists with YouTube Music. Hey Google, play Ice Cream by Selena Gomez and Blackpink.
Close with the kiss, so he call me ice cream. Catch me in the fridge, right where the ice be. Looks so good, yeah, looks so sweet. Hey.
Like this at home before, and it was so amazing.
This is my new single, and I hope you like it.
Last year, we launched the Pixel 3a, an affordable phone with a really awesome camera. And this year, we launched the Pixel 4a, and it's selling even faster than the 3a. And today, we're introducing the 5G version, Pixel 4a 5G. With Pixel 4a 5G, you get the best of 4a as a 5G experience. It has a larger edge-to-edge OLED display and a more powerful battery. The Pixel A series has always been about making the best of our technology as affordable as possible. And with 5G gaining momentum, we wanted to make this new technology available at an affordable price. The Pixel 4a 5G starts at only $499. But we know that some people also want more with their phone. So we're introducing the new Pixel 5, which brings together the best of Google's 5G experiences with water resistance, 8 GB of RAM, and wireless and reverse wireless charging. So you can use it with your Pixel stand or to charge your Pixel Buds on the go.
In addition to the hardware, what really makes the Pixel phones incredible is the software. 5G makes many of the great experiences we deliver faster. But people want more than just speed. Speed is still a big part of it. For example, you can download a movie in just seconds now. And we're also optimizing video streaming quality in both photos and YouTube for 5G speeds. But then with Wi-Fi features like smart downloads on 5G, your YouTube music playlists are proactively downloaded. So even when you don't have connectivity, your entertainment continues seamlessly. 5G and Google Duo can make connecting with friends and family more engaging and entertaining. Not only can you connect with anyone on any phone, you can now share your screen and watch videos together. Especially now, being apart from friends and family, it's great to be able to share fun moments while on a video call, like men's haircut tutorials. Hoping these video tutorials can help me cut my husband's hair better and my son gets the confidence for his mom to let him cut his hair. Pixel 5G and Stadia combine to create an instantaneous gaming experience. Today's biggest games ready wherever you are. Play in all your favorite places, at home or on the go. No more waiting for game downloads or updates. Pick up your Pixel and play instantly.
Some people think that to get all the benefits of 5G at an affordable price, there needs to be a compromise on some of our core features like camera. But that's not true. Pixel 5 and Pixel 4a 5G share the same front and rear camera system, and it's our best one yet. Starting with the hardware, we've put a new ultra-wide lens on the back, and HDR Plus has received a serious upgrade, mixing Google novel techniques with traditional HDR techniques like exposure bracketing to help you take even clearer, sharper photos. The new ultra-wide lens on the back lets you capture more of the scene in both your photos and videos. Whether you're capturing a breathtaking landscape or a family get-together, the ultra-wide lens ensures you get it all. Users love taking photos with beautiful background blurs, but this is challenging to do in super low light conditions. So we've added night sight to our portrait mode. For those evening strolls or backyard s'mores, this combination allows the subject in the foreground to stand out even in low light. The funny thing is, backyard s'mores is our use case. So my kids love making s'mores. We have not been able to camp this year. And so we've been doing them in the backyard, camping outside and making s'mores on our gas fireplace. And we're able to take portrait shots of them with the background blurred with the fire, just adding oranges to that background and them popping with their s'more on their stick. It's pretty exciting. We improved portrait mode with a new feature we call Portrait Light. We know you can't always get good lighting. That's why with Portrait Light, you can illuminate your portraits even when you're backlit against a beautiful sunset or have a harsh shadow on your face from the bright sun above you. Because we use AI to solve this problem, you can even apply this lighting effect in the newly redesigned Google Photos editor to a portrait you took 5 years ago. One other thing we heard from our users is how much they want to be able to capture beautiful videos. To that end, we've added 3 new stabilization modes: locked, active, and cinematic pan. We also noticed that a lot of top YouTube videos for videography are tutorials on exactly this. So we studied the best tips from YouTube as well as from Hollywood directors to create Cinematic Pan. Cinematic Pan lets you make the everyday look like a movie. It creates sweeping, dramatic Hollywood effects through stabilizing and slowing down the motion by 2x.
And we're also launching Extreme Battery Saver that lets you decide what essential apps you want to keep on while everything else gets paused. It helps you increase your battery life for up to 48 hours when you need it the most. With these phones, you get 3 years of Android OS and security updates. And the Titan M chip helps to keep your operating system, passwords, and transactions safe. They've been tested against real-world threats to keep everything from your texts to your pictures secure on your phone. But of all of these features, my favorite feature is Hold for Me. Honestly, I really don't like listening to elevator music or being put on hold for an hour. I don't think anybody does. Luckily, our new feature Hold for Me builds on the smarts of Duplex and Call Screen to help save you time. Google Assistant will wait on hold for you and alert you when someone comes on the line and is ready to speak to you.
So we know when people buy phones, they really want their phone to last a long time. And they want to make sure that their phone stays up to date and has the latest and greatest and newest features. So with Pixel, we have feature drops that do exactly that. And they're always bringing the latest and newest technology back to your existing Pixel as soon as they're ready. For example, Extreme Battery Saver and Hold for Me are going to be coming to older generation Pixels very soon. And we think this is great from both a user kind of value perspective as well as from a sustainability perspective of being able to hold onto and use your phone for longer. And for those of you who will be purchasing one of our new 5G phones, you'll be getting even more. 3 months of Stadia Pro, YouTube Premium, 100 gigabytes of storage with Google One, and Play Pass and Play Points all on us. We're really looking forward to you experiencing these new 5G phones and how helpful they can be for yourselves. They bring together the best of Google's software, new 5G experiences that go beyond speed, and the latest in computational photography to help you capture your special memories. And they start at only $499.
Hold up! We still announcing in here? Let's take it outside. What's good? Dashy Games here, out here in LA in this beautiful park. Sunny day, but I'm not worried though, because I can see everything on this Pixel 4a 5G edge-to-edge display. We're getting this exclusive look at Immortals Fenyx Rising on Stadia. New Ubisoft title they just announced earlier this month. Looks crispy. Look at this wasabi color controller. Okay, hold up, Cyclops. Hold up, Cyclops. You trying to throw columns at me? You trying to throw columns? Come on, boy. Nah, it's not gonna work. I thought you could only get high frame rates on consoles, but with Stadia, on the Pixel 4a 5G, you can get it on the go too. What? Y'all like what y'all saw? What if I told you you could play a demo of Immortals Fenyx Rising this fall when it releases exclusively on Stadia? Until then though, you can go to stadia.com and try a bunch of awesome games with the Stadia Pro free trial. That's what I'm talking about. No, not today, bruh. Not today, bruh. That's right! That's what I'm talking. Woo! Nailed it. All right, Rick, I'm gonna let you take it from here.
I hope you enjoyed the show. We're really excited about Google TV and how it can help you find the shows you love. Thanks to Mark Ronson for putting Nest Audio through its paces, helping us showcase its great sound. And with our new Pixels, we hope to make Google and 5G available to even more people. I'd like to end by extending a huge thanks to all of you at home for tuning in. There's even more to discover on our website, and you can pre-order everything featured in the show from the Google Store. Thanks for spending some time with us.
Okay, we're just getting in place right now. And action, Ronson.
So is that just me?
I don't see Mark on the screen.
Oh, sorry, other right.
I'm good.
Sorry, can we do it again?
Wait, am I starting from the beginning again?
You're gonna get this reviewed before we put it in, right?
CNET's live coverage of the Google Pixel event. This is our post-show, and good gravy did Google pull out tons and tons of
surprises.
I was going to say disappointment, but yeah, okay, we'll go with the actual products. Only it's everything we expected. 2 Pixel phones. We had a Chromecast with Google TV, and we had a Nest audio device. I did ask you guys if you wanted to be part of the conversation to put out the a note on Twitter. A tweet on Twitter. Hashtag CNET Live, and one of the Martin wrote out, kind of silly that even at Google themselves can't do a launch without setting off all of our speakers. Should have found a way not to interrupt your own live, because during this they used the wake word, I believe, a couple times, or because I know I've said certain phrases like something that ends with a noise that sounds like hey, and then I'll say the G word and all my speakers will go off. So yeah, maybe they should have tested it. So good point, Martin. I will say that when I watched an Amazon event, I had a similar thing happen with Alexa, which probably heard me right now. So I apologize.
It's gone off again now. Yeah.
So shall we talk about, where do you want to start, Lexi?
Oh, where do I want to start? Okay. So, I mean, I'm glad that it was a short event because I don't think there were any real surprises there. It didn't really warrant anything longer than 30 minutes. But I think coming away from that was the big takeaway for me was, the Pixel phones are kind of what we expected. But I'll talk about that in just a little bit. But I think for me, it's the confusion still around Google's way of integrating all of the components of its ecosystem, YouTube TV, now Google TV, and how do they interplay? I think they tried to kind of explain that a little bit, but I think for most consumers, or at least for me, I'm still left a little bit confused about the integrations there. YouTube TV, that's separate from Google TV, but Google TV is now on the new Chromecast device, which is $49, which is I think Google needs to be applauded for the prices of the Nest Audio and the Chromecast, because I think those are really smart positionings. But I want to know how everything is going to talk to each other. I didn't get a clearer understanding of where all these products were in the lineup. Like, how is that going to work? So we heard a little bit about being able to record from your phone with unlimited DVR, the integration between Google Photos on the TV and the assistant button and so on. And also like a content curator for Google TV. And then it broke out into YouTube TV and discussing a little bit about that, which isn't new, which is what we've seen. So I really think I didn't get a clear indication of how each of these services are going to work together. And it was a little bit confusing for me there. I don't know if you felt the same way, but knowing the fragmentation of Android TV, now Google TV and YouTube TV, we talked about in our pre-show, I think there's a lot of explanation, and it was just going to come out in the wash. I think I'm actually using it all.
Let's talk about that Chromecast with Google TV, because I think this presents actually one example of the confusion. I will say the Pixel line seems like it's somewhat clear at this point.
Yes.
Let's dive in with essentially the order that they showed us stuff. The Chromecast has Google TV, which appears to be replacing Android TV. Now, Android TV is an operating system that runs on a number of devices. Google hasn't made a hardware device that runs Android TV, I believe, ever, other than the original Google TV, which was replaced by Android TV. It's kind of an oddball thing. No, I'm wrong. Sorry, the Nexus player actually did run Android TV. It was one item that they've released at one point. And this new version that they're calling Chromecast with Google TV. Google TV, again, is the operating system. So the device is Chromecast, and it's with something else. So fine, let's go with that. That means that Google TV will be coming to other vendors. You're probably going to see it on the NVIDIA Shield. You'll probably see it on Sony TVs. You might see it wherever Android TV was, I believe on a Philips television. I've seen them on a lot of different devices built in. It'll probably replace Android TV. Now, Google didn't talk about roadmaps and how your device is going to be, because I think that would have been far too much in the weeds. But like you're saying, the $50 price point, you might be willing to swallow okay, what am I getting exactly? I'm getting this device. It does everything a Chromecast used to do, which is just simply send your content from a phone or tablet or Google Assistant over to the device. But now you have a remote, so it has apps built in. And I will say $50 for an Android TV box, now Google TV box, is actually really good, because I've been looking for another Android box, and the best one is the Shield, and everything else is kind of wonky. And with Google's stamp on it, I think their name brand might help a little bit, especially with the competition. But the competition is like $30. So I'm talking about the new Roku and the Fire Stick Lite. So what do you think about the $50 price point compared to these cheaper end models from Roku and Amazon?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I actually haven't used the new Roku. I used to have a Fire TV. I think where Google can really differentiate itself, it's a smart price, but it might not necessarily be cheap enough to compete with people who have already potentially invested in an ecosystem. We've been in a pandemic situation for at least 7 months now. I think if you've decided to kind of go all in with your smart TV setup, you've probably already kind of placed your bets in many ways. So this is really kind of, I think, going to be for people that are very, very interested in, the ways that they've been using Chromecast previously, or maybe looking to upgrade. This is a 4K device. Maybe if you've been using an older streamer that is only 1080, this might be, one to be looking at as well. But is it going to be enough to have the integration of the confusing Google TV and YouTube TV to bring people over from something like a Roku, or which is a bit more sort of platform agnostic, I guess you would say? Is the Smart Assistant going to be enough? The Google Assistant going to be enough to kind of draw people in? Obviously, I think appearing on TVs, as you were mentioning, Ayaz, going forward down the line is going to be a big way in which people are going to adopt Google TV itself. Chromecast, device on its own, the hardware looks nice. The remote is probably better than the Apple TV remote, right? I mean, anything pretty much is better than the Apple TV remote at this stage, but we'll that remains to be seen. I was intrigued about those two dedicated buttons for the YouTube and Netflix integrations. I wonder if those can be reprogrammed. I'm already starting to think of ways that I can kind of get around the presets, because, are those necessarily the two services that people gravitate to the most? I guess if you're in Google, you probably are thinking about, watching a lot of YouTube or even YouTube TV. But is the YouTube button going to launch YouTube or YouTube TV?
Maybe that'll be the option,
right?
Maybe they'll unify those two apps right now. I believe this is true. As far as maybe 2 weeks ago, Android TV has two different apps for YouTube TV, which is their cable replacement, and then there's YouTube regular, which is just everything you ever watch. And as for the remapping, I don't know if that's going to be possible, because I'm thinking of the Roku devices.
Yeah,
they had things. I believe I have a Roku device that has Rdio on it, and it's is Rdio
audio? Yes,
right. So you have these remnant buttons that don't do anything. I will say that Scott in the chat room said, "Remember, Google, you must rebrand things from Google to Android, then back to Google every 4 years." I want to say good point on that, because Google and branding, they're not the best at this. They're almost they're like, they might be on the Microsoft level of what are you guys doing? Just come on, we can figure this out. And I really think they're doing it with the Pixel line. We'll get to the Pixel in a minute, but let's continue with this mess.
Yes,
the Nest Audio device called Nest Audio. It's the new speaker. It looks exactly like the image Google has shown us. And I think right off the bat, they told us it was $99. And the big changes: rich bass, more volume, clear sound. They said 50% more bass, 75% more volume. Now, the Google Home Original can get really loud, super loud. So the fact that this thing is 75% louder, and it's supposed to be clear, that is very surprising. And they called it, again, the Nest Audio, but for some reason during their demo, they called it a whole house funkifier, which Lexi and I were talking about. Name. Why didn't they just call it the Nest Funkifier?
Nest Funkifier. Come on. Branding. Come on. I would buy that product way before I would buy a product that was based on name alone.
Are you going to forget it? It's actually it's a name that's yes, do you have the Funkifier? It's yeah.
Brilliant. It's brilliant. I think I'm just going to end up calling it the Funkifier just because. I would like to apologize in advance to my neighbors, because if, as you were saying, this device is going to get pretty loud. We're going to crank it up to the max. It's going to be interesting to see how the sound, obviously when you turn up speakers a lot, the distortion kind of gets a little bit off at those really high volumes. I listened to the Google Max a few years ago when it was first announced. And then Google did this really kind of cool integration at Google I/O. It was, basically testing out the Max speaker in a giant Max. It was like Inception within, you go inside a giant Max.
I tried that.
Yeah. It was great, but it really can blow your eardrums out if you want it to. So going to be really testing the limits of that one, I think. But $99, good price, as you said. We didn't see, though, any in the pre-show we were talking about, Aya's your wish list of things that you wanted to see out of this, such as NFC pairing. We'll be able to create, more and maybe create a 5.1 system out of a number of different Nest audios. We didn't hear anything about that specifically, but we did have this sort of odd demonstration of being able to walk through and route audio to different speakers in different rooms, just saying move it to the living room and so on. I'm not sure if that is a new feature, because I don't actually own Google speakers in my house, or multiple speakers anyway. But
that feature, because he was talking about groups, I didn't realize he had said the word group at the end, at least for one of them.
Okay.
That is possible right now, and I honestly didn't know the phrase was move to, because there's not exactly like this great manual of what are the commands you're supposed to be using, because that's one of the issues with smart speakers in general. And Amazon had the same issue of like, how do you explain that this displayless device has new features? And it's not like it can just show up with a display and say, oh, try out the new feature. It's got to tell you that, which is a little bit more intrusive. So discoverability, I think, I have tons of these devices. I didn't know you could do that. I just used my phone for that because I didn't know the phrase was move to. So I think it's a cool feature, but it's been there and I forgot it existed. So that's, it just shows you that, again, Google with messaging sometimes runs into issues. But let's move on to the Pixels, because they're here. They're
finally.
We have let's start off with the 4A 5G, $499 price tag, Android 11, headphone jack. Actually has a headphone jack. So the last device in the world with a headphone jack.
Has a headphone jack. Yeah. I don't think there are any sort of surprises with the 4A 5G, foray into 5G, as I know you're a big fan of.
I like that joke.
No, that was actually yours. I shouldn't.
I know,
I'm not taking credit for it. Yeah. No sort of surprises there. What I think is going to be as the most interesting part is priced from $500 for the 4A 5G, and then $700 for the Pixel 5. I'm actually looking at the specs side by side, because you can actually compare the specs for both of the phones. And really, the key differences, obviously, the size of the display is 6.2 inches on the 4A 5G and 6 inches on the 5. The battery is a little bit smaller or lower capacity on the 4A 5G. And there's no wireless charging, and there's no Gorilla Glass coating. It doesn't look like it says there is, or at least Gorilla Glass 6 on the Pixel 4a 5G. Slightly less RAM, but overall you're pretty much getting the same phone. The cameras I think are pretty much identical. All the software features are going to be pretty much the same, unless you want the headphone jack, as you mentioned, and a slightly larger screen, slightly smaller screen. I don't know. It's kind of confusing. Which phone are you going to get? Why would I spend $200 more on the Pixel 5? It looks like the 4A is going to give me pretty much everything I want, plus a headphone jack. Maybe I want that.
So, I'm looking at the specs myself, because there's a lot of information here. When it comes to storage, I want to say this is I'm very happy about that. The fact that the 4A, the 4A 5G, and the Pixel 5 all have 128 gigabytes of storage, finally, because last year when the Pixel 4 was introduced, I was asking a representative saying, why 64 gigabytes again? Like, why are you doing this? Because you have these awesome cameras. They're going to eat up space like crazy. And even though you can back it up, and last year was the first year where Google stopped allowing you to have unlimited backup to the cloud of full res images and videos. So that was very frustrating. But when I'm looking at this, there's more RAM on the 5. It is smaller, this is kind of an unusual play, that the more expensive one is a 6-inch display, but the larger one is 6.2. The bigger battery, I think, is always important, even though it's a smaller display. It means it's not pulling as much power. They have the same resolution, by the way. So this is an odd thing. So if you have a 6.2-inch display, it's just slightly stretched out. So the image might not look as crisp, but it's still going to look really good. So I don't know why somebody would spend other $200 other than waterproofing, because that to me is super important, because I'm a spaz, and maybe the bigger battery. That's about it. And the RAM. RAM is always important. 8 gigabytes of RAM. But again, the pricing at $699, there's no option to boost the Pixel 5 to like a 256 or anything, by the way. There's one model, one storage capacity. That's it. This is the most simple lineup Google has, I believe. I don't know what else is still around. I don't know if they're discounting 3As, 3XLs, or anything. I think those are all gone.
I think they've been discontinued, yeah, officially anyway. Yeah, I mean, again, I don't know. For me, it looks like the 4A 5G is probably the one, unless you are thinking you're going to drop or spill things on your phone all the time, and maybe you want that extra little boost of RAM. The cameras are identical, the same features on the cameras. Let's talk a little bit about the sort of the photography stuff, because that was what I was excited about. And there's not anything super dramatic, but I think it makes sense. So, given the context. So we have now, instead of the Pixel 4a, which was all about the telephoto, we've gone to a regular wide angle lens, and also a ultra wide angle lens. So 12 megapixels on the wide and then 16 on the ultra wide, which is fairly standard. What I was also excited about was to see the selfie camera was actually, I think, a slightly narrower field of view than the Pixel 4. The Pixel 4 and 4a, very weird, odd looking selfies. I don't know if anyone cares about that. I'm not a huge selfie person, but every time I've been comparing the selfie cameras, it's just been a very odd field of view. So it looks like they've changed that, which is good. But the actual software features on the cameras, obviously we have the same traditional Pixel software and Google software, such as, night sight, astrophotography mode. But now there have been some specific tweaks to portrait mode specifically. So there is now portrait mode in night sight. So you'll be able to get that blurred background effect while also using night mode to prolong their exposure to make sure you can gather enough light. So I'm excited to test that one out. Then there was also the portrait lighting effect, which is, say you're taking a shot with some really harsh backlighting, it should be able to sort of identify and then illuminate your subject a little bit better. The iPhone has something similar with portrait lighting effects in portrait mode, but I'm not sure if it works in the same way with the computational photography side of things that Google really does push a lot and really does excel at. So again, going to be interested to see that one side by side. And video. Interesting that Google was talking about the sort of cinematic pan capabilities of video. There are actually a couple of clips that are on the Pixel webpage now that you can actually go see. There's like 3 or 4. We're seeing one right here. Cinematic pan is a good addition, but if it's just a cinematic pan and not improving the video quality on the Pixel line, which is not that good, it's fine, but it's not particularly strong. I don't know if that's going to be helpful or not. I'm looking forward to testing it out. Hopefully it's an improvement across the board of video quality, not just the addition of a beautiful kind of gimbal style effect, which is nice, don't get me wrong. But if the video quality doesn't match up to it, we'll see.
But here's the thing, like I think the video quality might match the price. If you're talking about $349, $499, and then $699, instead of comparing it to a $1,400 Galaxy Note 20 Ultra 5G, mouthful, you might be able to go, it might not be great at this, but it's more forgivable at certain price points. Because when I heard that, $349 for the 4A, and its camera's really, really good for that price, like you can't get like a real camera that is that good. That's probably not true. But
well, I mean, I hear what you're saying, but the thing is, if you look at the Pixel line previously, even the 4, the camera, the still image quality was fantastic and really comparable to phones that were much more expensive, as long as you didn't need crazy sort of telephoto zooms. Even now, like compared to one of the other top line Android phones, the Note 20 Ultra, the Pixel really still does hold its own, unless you need 5 times optical zoom or 50 times digital zoom. That's really the only way in which the Note line actually outdoes the Pixel in many ways. So I think that the still images have always been incredibly competitive with more expensive phones. It's always been the video. So I don't know. I mean, for the price, I'm going, sure, I understand if one component is not as good quality, but I can get amazing quality still photos. Can they just match the video images? It shouldn't be that much more difficult. Maybe it is, but I think that it can definitely hold its own against much more expensive phones, especially when it comes to still quality.
And people in the chat were asking, like, when is this releasing? I couldn't find I know it's for pre-order right now. As you were talking, I was multitasking. I was putting it in my cart, seeing when it shows up.
It's all right. You weren't listening to me. That's okay, Ayaz. I forgive you.
Video quality is important. I agree with you on that. So I was listening. But October 30th seems to be the earliest time on my checkout that the Pixel 5 will be available. So I don't know if that's true for everybody or not. So October 30th, so right before Halloween, You can take what appears to be horrible videos, according to Lexi, or
No. No, not horrible videos.
Great
they're gonna look beautiful and smooth. I just hope the quality of the actual image is gonna look good. Yeah,
but
we'll
yeah,
see.
you got a great point when it comes to this. Like, and Google's main thing is software optimization for their photos. I like the little cool cinematic pan and everything. Here's what I found. And Google's talking right now. I don't know which one that was. I have too many devices. I think on that note, let's wrap up. Lex, what did you think about this whole event and the products?
It was concise, which I appreciated. Even though there was a little bit of padding when it came to talking about the artist's experience, which I didn't really find much value in. But I guess it was nice because I think we've seen a lot of other tech companies do these virtual events now, and it's really changing gears. I think we used to really watch these as big tech enthusiasts and really expect a lot of the technical details, a lot of the real basically identifying the reasons why this is a significant upgrade. And I've really definitely seen a dramatic shift to focusing all these events towards people that are not necessarily huge tech enthusiasts, that are just like, oh, Google's got an event. Okay, I'll watch that. I own maybe a small Google device and I'm looking for a new phone or a new smart speaker. Let's see what's there. Google's not the only one that's kind of been positioning its events like this. So I'm not surprised about that. I don't think we saw anything that was really a big dramatic shift from what we were expecting. I think the Pixel phones are probably the most interesting part of the announcement. And as we were talking about, we just need to sort of wait and see how the fragmentation of the Android TV to Google TV and the Chromecast and YouTube TV all interplay together, because that is something I think is the big question mark. Hopefully, Google can actually finally start to make all those make sense for people that don't live in this ecosystem every single day and haven't been following it since the start, since 2010 with the original Google TV.
That was really well stated. I'm going to say basically everything you just did.
Okay.
The presentation was short. It was padded. I didn't really care if somebody has s'mores or not for their night vision shots. Night sight shots, whatever. I will say I'm quite impressed with Google's push into the lower cost devices. The $50 Chromecast with Google TV is a great, easy way to go. Oh, I can buy that as, I won't say impulse buy, but like think of a Black Friday at some point where it's $39.99. Because one of the things about Google products and Google Home products and most of their home devices, their smart home devices, usually you can find them on sale for a significant discount. Same thing was true of their speakers. So the $99 to start with the Nest Audio and $49 to start with the Chromecast, good chance of getting it at like $79, $69, or like when it comes to the Chromecast, $39, maybe $30 at some point. So I think that's going to be great long-term to get people into this. As Android TV is not super popular at this point, it's not like Roku, maybe now is the right time to rebrand it and just go full on with it. Maybe that was the cost benefit analysis to lose the name. I still think they're really bad with branding. But these Pixel devices, like we were talking about in the pre-show, this kind of reminds me of the Nexus. We got lower cost and they work really well. You get the updates. If you're an Android enthusiast and you actually just want clean Android and you want updates day one and you want your devices to be supported for 3 years, as they say right off the bat, it's a lot easier at this price point. So I will say, I wouldn't say impressed. I am satisfied with this.
Satisfied customer.
There you go. You get an S in your report card. I'd like to thank everybody for watching today. This was great fun. Thank you, Lexi, so much for your insights and bearing with my terrible jokes all throughout this thing.
Love the jokes.
To David Katzmeyer, who guested earlier on, to tell us his thoughts. BBG running everything, Beecham and Bonnie and everybody else at CNET. Don't forget to go to CNET and our YouTube page, youtube.com/CNET. We're going to have reviews and videos on everything humanly possible. For everybody else, CNET, this is Akhtar, and I'll see you online.